As an Amazon associate, we earn from qualifying purchases. This podcast is supported by its listeners. If you choose to purchase something using links on our website, we may earn a commission. No books were warped, dog-eared, underlined with purple pen, eaten, cursed, cancelled, burned, or otherwise harmed in the making of this podcast. I'm Tom Tolkien, and this is the School Reading List, a podcast that recommends books you'll want your children to read and books you'll wish you'd read as a child. To kick off episode 40 of the School Reading List podcast, let's rip open some book post. And first up is I Am Ray's Imaginary Friend by Brian Moses, illustrated by Bethan Welby. Ray's Imaginary Friend narrates this spellbinding illustrated verse story for 7+-year-olds, stepping in at the moment Ray learns his parents are thinking about moving house. The friend becomes the confidant and holder of Ray's fears and worries as he considers running away. But a new home brings new faces, including a refugee mother and child who join the family, and Ray slowly begins to feel at home. As he settles, the companion starts to wonder what his purpose now is. Thought-provoking, heartwarming, and beautifully written, I Am Ray's Imaginary Friend is an outstanding book to share with Key Stage 2 children. Locked in the Museum by Leisa Stewart-Sharpe, illustrated by Acapulco Studio. Locked in the museum for one night, 7+-year-old readers can watch displays come to life as new rooms and artifacts appear. Exhibits from around the world range from the Mary Rose and the Sistine Chapel to robots and modern art. Ancient Egyptian mummies feature alongside a woolly rhinoceros with a Neanderthal and dinosaurs in this outstanding non-fiction book with spectacular fold-out illustrations and bite-sized facts. This highly engaging hardback also explains how artifacts are preserved and who looks after them. It's perfect for Key Stage 2 classrooms for reading, sharing and dipping into. Highly recommended. Mo's Stick by Fiona Lumbers. Mo, a mouse, loses a favourite stick and feels its absence, thinking back to the imaginative games it powered, from sailing at sea to travelling into space. As he looks for a replacement, the story cleverly makes it clear that the play came from Mo's mind rather than the object. Collage-style artwork and die-cut pages are built into the colourful, engaging narrative. This impressive, high-quality 32-page hardback is perfect for 3 to 6-year-olds and supports discussion about imagination and creative play. It's ideal for nursery and EYFS settings. Highly recommended. Tock, Around the Clock by Ruth Brown. Spend a day with Tock the cat as he prowls through the garden, chases squirrels and stalks mice, before heading back indoors for tea and a familiar lap in this beautifully realised picture book for preschool and EYFS children. Ruth Brown follows his routine from morning stretch to evening rest, using onomatopoeia and timeless scenes. The wonderful illustrations highlight every detail in the house and garden, giving 3+-year-olds plenty to spot and talk about as Tock goes about his day. There's also a useful downloadable set of resources for teachers. Luna Grace, Girl from Outer Space, Sea Safari by Julie Sykes and Emily Jones. Luna and her family travel to Puffin Island with Twizzle the Moon Cat in this instalment of the lively first chapter book series for 5+-year-olds. While her parents study wildlife, such as dolphins, gulls, wildflowers and puffins, Luna spends the day looking for a mermaid. The fast-paced, fun story follows their seaside trip, the family's routines, and what Luna spots along the way. Colour illustrations sit alongside short chunks of text, and it's ideal for newly independent readers. Marty Moose, The Great Stampede by Claire Powell. It's the day of Little Ditch's Fastest Feathers race, but Marty has a job to finish before anyone crosses the line. A golden egg must be delivered to the finish ahead of the competition, and that proves harder than it sounds. With Nibbles at his side, Marty dodges ferret bandits and outsmarts 2 rule-bending ducks. Claire Powell builds this highly engaging story for 6+-year-olds through brisk set pieces, chase scenes, and neatly introduced contestants, keeping the pace fast. Lots of engaging illustrations make this an ideal first chapter book series for newly independent readers in Year 2 and above. Highly recommended. The Elementals, Wanzu Sets Sail by Ssega and Erika Meza. Wanzu lives on Sealand, where every child is linked to an element: air, water, earth or fire. His friends have found their powers, but Wanzu has not. When storms bring the threat of flooding, he leads a perilous rescue mission beyond the island in this distinctive fantasy adventure for 6 to 9-year-olds. Travelling by sea to magical places, the group works together to solve problems and find a way to stop the water from rising, while Wanzu continues searching for his own element. It's an unforgettable, magical first chapter book for Key Stage 1 and Lower Key Stage 2 children. Cruise Ship Kid, Kidnap at Sea by Emma Swan, illustrated by Katie Saunders. 10-year-old Silver lives on a cruise ship where her mum works as the cruise director. When they transfer to a larger liner for a transatlantic trip from Barbados to Southampton, the voyage takes a turn after an influencer called Kindness K mysteriously disappears. Silver teams up with her friends and a group of older passengers to gather clues and draw up a suspect list, all while managing life at sea. The second in this addictively fun mystery series for 7+-year-olds uses a diary-style format with doodles, reader questions and space for notes. On the Streets of New York by Sarah Kay and Ryan Johnson. Poetry and illustration combine spectacularly to capture New York through the eyes of an inquisitive 7+-year-old child. Crowded streets, Central Park, bagel stands and the Statue of Liberty are all evoked through warm artwork and lyrical verse, alongside slice-of-life vignettes. Sarah Kay's magical text, paired with Ryan Johnston's illustrations, brings a strong sense of the city's history, energy and everyday life. A non-fiction section adds punchy bursts of facts about New York's geography and past. Ideal for primary school libraries, it also works well as an inspiring text for exploring poetry about place in literacy lessons. Highly recommended. The Cheat Book, Volume 3, by Ramzee. Kamal and his friends are the first pupils at a new smart school, complete with robot teachers, talking scooters, and endless snack machines. At first, it feels like a dream until the tech starts malfunctioning and everything starts to go wrong. With his cheat book in hand, Kamal tries to stay one step ahead of the chaos. Packed with jokes and black and white illustrations, the third instalment is fast-paced, fun, and ideal for less confident 9+-year-old readers. Always Angel by Kimberly Whittam. Angel is a Year 8 pupil who finds school hard and is often in trouble. With her mum unwell and unable to care for her properly, Angel's life feels unstable and she struggles to fit in. She wants to do better, make friends and enter the school baking contest, but expectations based on her past behaviour are stacked against her. This powerful and ultimately uplifting contemporary story for Upper Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3 students explores friendship, foster care, second chances, and learning how to change your life for the better. It's ideal for book club discussion. Ooh. Made for Each Other by Georgina Taylor. This beautifully illustrated and typeset large-format non-fiction nature book, now in paperback, studies the symbiotic relationships between interdependent species, including the coexistences between Hawaiian bobtail squids and Vibrio fiscari, three-toed sloth and algae, and ruby-throated hummingbirds and cardinal flowers. This book shows the reader that harmony and restraint are key to sustainability in the natural world. With considerable detail, this on-point book transcends science and will help show children the values of working together, compromise and tolerance to aid survival. It's ideal for 9 to 11-year-olds and Key Stage 2 libraries. Dragonborn by Struan Murray. Alex Evans is dealing with grief, anger, and an overprotective mother when something impossible happens. She breathes fire. Taken to the island of Skrala by Olifos, Alex discovers she's a dragon and begins training with others like her. As tensions rise and Drac Midna moves towards war with humans, Alex has to learn control, loyalty, and where she belongs in a world she never knew existed, in this spectacular and epic fantasy novel for 9 to 14-year-olds. Robin Hood, War and Peas by Robert Muchamore. Robin is in exile in the Netherlands, while fighting continues in Sherwood Forest between the rebels and President Marjorie Kovacevich's forces. Civilians are confined in open-air prison camps, and the war has reached a stalemate. Smuggled home by sea, Robin rejoins his group with a plan to sabotage a weapons factory. The dangerous mission grows into an attempt to spark a wider uprising and free prisoners, culminating in a dramatic final confrontation for Sherwood Forest. A stunning finale to the popular crime adventure series for 11-plus-year-olds. Burn the Water by Billy Ray. Billy Ray's Romeo and Juliet-inspired young adult novel dives into a waterlogged London in 2425, where the crowns and the rogues have been locked in battle for generations. Rafe, a rogue captain, and Jewel, a crown soldier, are supposed to hate each other, yet their dangerous romance sparks in the midst of war. With shifting loyalties and foreign powers closing in, their story blends survival, conflict, and forbidden love in a vividly dystopian world. It's a heady mix of climate science fiction and a reimagined world threaded around an enemies to lovers plot that will captivate 12-plus-year-old readers in Key Stage 3. Highly recommended. All the Cursed Creatures by Amie Jordan. Sage is summoned to Stone City, a hidden supernatural capital, to investigate a string of vampire murders and secure her position as a detective. But after an argument with Oren, she takes the case on alone, while trying to keep a personal secret from being exposed. As the investigation deepens, corruption in the city and rivalries between supernatural groups come into focus. Oren and P race to Sage before the case and her secret collide. A gripping, page-turning finale to the blockbuster All the Hidden Monsters series for 14-plus-year-olds, it's highly recommended. When I Was Death by Alexis Henderson. Rosalind Volk joins a travelling group of girls connected to her sister's death because she wants answers. Each girl was saved from an early death by death, and in exchange they now collect souls on his behalf. When Rosalind learns the truth about her sister, she must decide whether she'll accept the same bargain. This dark and twisty horror novel for 14-plus-year-olds examines grief, mortality and responsibility, and what people are prepared to accept in exchange for survival. It's a fascinating and discussion-worthy read for Key Stage 4 book clubs. Thank you to all the publishers and publicists for sending us books to review here on this podcast and on our website schoolreadinglist.co.uk. Here's our rundown of great new children's books hitting the shelves this April. The Last Death Poet by Stephen Daly. Benjamin Zephaniah's What Stephen Lawrence Has Taught Us by Benjamin Zephaniah. How to Question Everything by Susan Martineau and Vicky Barker. Nico the Donkey's New Home by Elena Mannion. Camping in the Wild by Nicholas Oldland. Spyglass, Mastermind of Mayhem by David Solomons. Piper at the Gates of Dusk by Patrick Ness. 2 is a Crowd by Kath Howe. Wide Eye by Jennifer Liss. Dead Straight Line by Malcolm Duffy. A Million Tiny Missiles All at Once by Lucas Maxwell. Camizen, Fortress of Lost Memories by William Dobson. Guinea Pig Rescue by Pamela Bouchard. Saving Species by Jess French. Wild Footprints by Judy Wise. Once Upon a Time in the Woods by Anthony Brown. Whale Song by Nicola Davies. Once Upon a Planet by Pierrick Gravieux. How to Build a Chocolate Bridge by Roma Agrawal. Izzy Dobson is Definitely Different by Abigail Balthy. Survival Show by Juno Dawson. My Art Book of Peace by Shana Gazansky. Song I Wrote for Charlotte by Caitlin Devlin. The Seriously Epic Holiday of Lottie Brooks by Katie Kirby. Dadbot 2 Rise of the Bad Bots by Jack Noel. Monkey Pig by Hugh Aaron. The Overthinkers Club by Nat Lertzima. Burn the Water by Billy Ray. These Shattered Spires by Cassidy Ellis Salter. A Soul Full of Shadows by Derek Landy. Dave Pigeon, Dave vs. Dave by Swapna Haddow. And our picture book of the month is Moe's Stick by Fiona Lumbers. Our non-fiction book of the month is Locked in the Museum by Leisa, Stewart-Sharpe and Acapulco Studios. And our fiction book of the month is I Am Ray's Imaginary Friend by Brian Moses, illustrated by Bethan Welby. Booksy book, let's get reading. Get reading. If you're a teacher, librarian or avid bookworm who loves children's or YA books and you'd like to review brand new titles for the school reading list, get in touch by email. We'd love to hear from you. The address is reviews@schoolreadinglist.co.uk. And here are some titles from our latest genre book list, survival-themed books for children and teens. In time for the upcoming cricket season and summer term in schools, here are some titles from our recent Cricket Books for Children and Teens feature. Going to Bat by Sunita Chowdhury. Maya joins cricket club at school and wants to track down the bat her granddad gave her before she left India. She also means to write to him, but school and training keep swallowing up the time. Then her mum turns up as team coach, and jealousy, pressure and the green-eyed monster start crowding in before the match. Cricket carries the story while it introduces emotional literacy and topics linked to mental health, well-being and anxiety for Key Stage 2 and PSHE. A thought-provoking read for 8+-year-olds, it's ideal for discussion in book clubs. The World's Worst Alien Fight Back by Alice Primmer, illustrated by Fred Blunt. Peace-loving alien Skye is back on Earth, once again passing as an 11-year-old at Oak Lane Primary. Her last visit ended with a failed school project, so this time she arrives with a clearer mission and a plan that ties into stopping conflict. When a cricket match and a message scrawled on the school fence spark trouble with a rival school, Skye and her friends are pulled into the fallout. Alice Primmer gives playground politics an intergalactic twist in this hilarious series for 9+-year-olds, whilst Fred Blunt's accessible and anarchic illustrations help to sharpen the comedy. Diary of a Cricket God by Shamini Flint and Sally Heinrich. Marcus Atkinson insists he's not a cricket star, but his dad expects otherwise and talks about magic in his wrists. Marcus is maths-focused and doesn't feel at home in sport, while his dad, a self-help author, keeps pushing the idea that you can do anything you set your mind to. Told in illustrated diary format, this fun, accessible story for 8 to 12-year-olds uses drawings and jokes as the sporting pressure builds, with cricket facts woven throughout the entries. Incredible Cricket Stories by Clive Gifford. Cricket stories from around the world fill this non-fiction collection for 7 to 10-year-olds, spanning men's, women's and para-cricket across past and present. 60 accounts cover players and matches, from Brian Lara's 501 not out to Sajida Shah playing for her country at 12. There's also a match played inside a volcano and a contest on Africa's highest mountain. Facts, stats, short bios and quizzes sit alongside an accessible guide for players. It's perfect for Key Stage 2 classrooms. Last Girl In by Cheryl Diane Parkinson and Sonia McGilchrist. Kerry Ann has loved cricket ever since her Jamaican grandpa showed her how to hold a bat. But bullies at the local club want to exclude her and her friends. With an empowering and satisfying ending, this accessible and pacey short chapter book is perfect for summer term book clubs in Key Stage 2, class reading outside in the sunshine, and Windrush-themed topic teaching. AJ and the Mumbai Sun by Varsha Shah. When AJ starts up a school newspaper with his friends Saif, Vinod, Jasmine and Jai, he stumbles upon a web of corruption by powerful people. Can he evade danger and expose the crimes? And there's an incredibly important cricket match at the same time. With rich cultural details and compelling storytelling, AJ and the Mumbai Sun is a sublime slice of life to wistfully lose a few days reading. It's also a must-read for children involved in school newspapers and an inspirational book to encourage pupils to care about finding the truth. Wisden Cricketer's Almanac 2026 by Lawrence Booth. Published annually since 1864, this 163rd edition of Wisden's Cricketer's Almanac blends cricket features and reporting with the year's records. Tanya Aldred writes on cricket's links with mining communities, Harry Pearson visits former county grounds, and Gideon Hay examines India-Pakistan relations. Osman Samuddin covers Imran Khan, and Derek Pringle writes on Dickie Bird. Notes by the editor, Cricketers of the Year, obituaries, test reports and scorecards and records are also included. It's a must-have for school libraries and team cricket fans to pore over. Here's a selection of exciting new book tasters sent to us by new and self-published children's authors this month.
Every child has a voice. Sometimes they just need the right words to find it. My name is Tara Ellie, and my new book, Little Poets, A Poem a Day, is a gentle, joyful invitation into the world of poetry, one small poem at a time. It contains 365 fun prompts, one for every day of the year, to inspire children to explore their thoughts, their feelings, and the wonders of the world around them. Whether it's read at bedtime, shared in the classroom, or written in together as a daily ritual, Little Poets encourages children to dream, to reflect, and express themselves freely. It's available on Amazon at the moment, and my dream is that it will open the door to imagination, spark a love of words, and help a young voice discover its power, one poem a day.
Hi, my name is Clodagh Ryan, and I'm excited to introduce Sally the Spider, a joyful picture book adventure for children aged 3 to 7. One day, while spinning her web, Sally had the most curious thought. I have 8 tiny feet. Wouldn't 8 tiny shoes be really sweet? And just like that, she sets off into the forest to find them. Along the way, she meets friendly creatures like Freddy the Frog, Rosie Robin, Mr. Mole, and Molly Mouse, each offering clues, kindness, and a bit of fun. With rhythm and rhyme, Sally the Spider is a gentle tale of adventure, friendship, and finding joy in the little things, like the perfect pair of shoes, ×4. Sally the Spider is available now on Amazon. It is the perfect read for bedtime, story time, or little dreamers who love a fun journey with a big-hearted character.
Environmental issues continues, and as parents or teachers of children, our legacy should be to teach the important things affecting the environment, good or bad, and so aid their understanding as the future stewards of Earth. As a grandmother, I have created 4 booklets aimed at 5 to 10-year-olds that are story-based, informative, illustrative, and interactive, allowing them to input their own findings using pictures, lists, drawings, etc., or make posters with parental or adult support through research. The booklets are only available from our website, arcs2learn.co.uk, offering fun moments between parents and children or as group-based activities, all with questions requiring answers. Ask questions, seek answers, knowledge gained.
If you'd like to get in touch and leave a recorded shout-out about your upcoming self-published children's book, how to spot which books will appeal to 14 to 16 plus year olds based on social media trends. The easiest mistake is to treat phones and books as if they're fighting for the same space in a teenager's life. They're not always rivals. Often, they're carrying the same needs in different formats. In February 2026, the National Literacy Trust reported that reading enjoyment among teenagers is at a 20-year low, with just 18.8% of boys aged 14 to 16 saying they enjoy reading and only 9.8% saying they read daily in their free time. The same report also found that many teenagers still see reading as useful, calming, and worthwhile. At the same time, Ofcom says social media and messaging are central to teen life, with 72% of 13 to 17s who use those services saying they help them feel closer to friends. That matters because it shifts the question. The real issue is not whether teenagers want stories, advice, identity, belonging, or emotional release. They clearly do. The issue is where they think they can get those things fastest. Short-form social media delivers speed, punch, and social proof. Ofcom's recent work on children's online lives even records young people describing endless scrolling as brain rot, which is bleak but useful language for schools to hear. Teens know the downsides. They also know why they keep returning. The feed feels immediate, relevant, and live. So what should teachers, librarians, and parents look for when choosing books for 14 to 16 plus year old readers? Start with usefulness. In school reading list focus group feedback, the strongest pattern from recent title tracking and teen feedback was simple. Young people wanted books that were useful first and fun second. The titles discussed in those focus groups support that idea. In sixth form choices, readers gravitated towards books such as Atomic Habits by James Clear, No Logo by Naomi Klein, Delia Smith's Cookery Course, and Fake Law by The Secret Barrister. In Year 10 and 11 selections, the titles that surfaced most strongly included Happy Head by Josh Silver, Last Lesson by James Goodhand, 24 Seconds From Now by Jason Reynolds, The Kill Factor by Ben Oliver, Wild East by Ashley Hickson Lovins, Crossing the Line by Tia Fisher, and Needle by Patrice Lawrence. All these books reflect social media motivations for consuming content. Useful doesn't just mean revision guides, careers handbooks, or worthy issue books. For teenagers, it usually means one of four things. A book helps me understand myself. A book helps me understand other people. A book helps me handle a situation I might actually face. And a book helps me imagine a route into adult life that feels possible. Research fits that picture. A 2025 qualitative study on adolescent book reading found that autonomy matters in its own right. Teenagers respond better when reading feels chosen, self-directed, and connected to their lives, not simply assigned. Earlier reading motivation research has made the same point in a different way. Value, confidence, and social meaning all shape whether young people keep reading. That is why books that echo the emotional grammar of social media often travel well with older teens. The strongest candidates tend to have a clear premise, quick entry, high personal stakes, and a strong sense of consequence. They usually deal with image, confidence, power, friendship, sex, money, status, injustice, mental health, risk, or survival. They promise some kind of answer, even if the answer is messy. They feel current. They do not waste time getting going. They sound as if they matter now. This is also why non-fiction shouldn't be treated as a side shelf. For many teenagers, especially those who spend time online watching routines, explainers, transformations, commentary, and how-to content, non-fiction can feel more legible than a traditional school novel. It offers competence. It tells readers something they can use. It can also build cultural literacy and adult confidence. That fits broader market signals too. UK publishing data released in 2025 showed strong growth in fiction, digital reading and audiobooks, suggesting that format flexibility matters as much as subject matter. There's another clue hiding in book talk. Social media is often blamed for hollowing out reading, yet BookTok has become one of the clearest routes back into books. A recent narrative review of BookTok research found that it can boost reading motivation or help young people rediscover reading during adolescence. A 2024 study of young people's BookTok narratives found that the reading practices they described were strongly social, physical and emotional, built around the book as an object as well as a text. The fact that the UK is launching an official BookTok chart in 2026 tells you the industry now treats this link between online attention and book demand as measurable, not anecdotal. That doesn't mean schools should simply chase viral titles. Some social media trends reward shock, cruelty, certainty and performance. Books can answer the same anxieties in a better way. Recent studies from Edinburgh researchers suggest that adolescents see fiction as supporting empathy, connection, personal growth and well-being. That is a real opening for schools. A book can still deliver pace, intensity and relevance while also giving a reader time to think, reread, disagree, sit with discomfort, and grow alongside a character. Social media is good at urgency, books are better at depth. That is especially important when the topic is masculinity, confidence, and online influence. If teenagers are already consuming blunt content about status, attraction, power, and how to live, the answer is not to pretend those questions don't exist. It's to offer better material. Alan Bissett's Lads is explicitly framed as a guide to respect and consent for teenage boys, with confidence and positive relationships at its centre. Nathaniel Lesour's What Happens Online is presented by its publisher as a teen novel about working out who you are online and offline. Book Trust's guidance on using fiction to discuss boyhood and masculinity makes the same wider case. Reading can be a route into empathy and a counterweight to toxic online scripts. The practical test is straightforward. When you're looking at a book for 14 to 16 plus year old readers, ask, does this feel relevant within a page or two? Does it offer a problem, desire, or pressure a teenager recognises? Does it respect the reader's intelligence? Does it promise some kind of usable insight, whether practical, emotional, or social? Does it sound like a book a teenager might press into a friend's hand and say, read this? If the answer is yes, you're probably closer to social media level demand than you think. The bigger point is hopeful. Teenagers have not lost interest in meaning, identity, or even reading itself. The National Literacy Trust's 2026 findings suggest many still value reading even when it slips out of their routines. The job for adults is not to sneer at the feed, it's to notice what the feed is telling us about appetite, then meet that appetite with books that are sharper, kinder, and built to last. Teenagers do respond to ideas that are explained clearly, quickly, and with conviction. That's one reason influencers do so well on social media. They package identity, confidence, relationships, status, and advice into short, sharp content that feels immediate and relevant. The problem is that social media moves fast. A post appears, lands, and disappears. A book can do the same work with more weight and more staying power. Readers can come back to a passage, think about it, question it, read it again, and sit with a character for longer. That gives books an advantage when the aim is not just to grab attention, but to build understanding and empathy. For teachers, the lesson is practical. we need more contemporary books that deal directly with the issues teenagers are already encountering online, and we need more chances to put those books in front of them. What stood out in our focus group responses was how closely the choices for 14 to 16 plus year olds matched the same subjects, audiences and patterns driving attention on TikTok and Instagram. So yes, books can appeal to this age group, and yes, teenagers do still read for pleasure. There's no lack of appetite, but for teachers, do we have enough of the right books to recommend? If you'd like to get in touch, use the hashtag SRLpodcast on Twitter or drop us a line using the contact form or messaging button on our website schoolreadinglist.co.uk. And all the books lived happily ever after. The end.